What if your favorite politician is talking the talk, walking the walk, but they may be accepting money from a source that you particularly do not agree with? Do you praise the results or do you question the influence behind the results? Because in America, there are two things that do not line up as people would assume: money and politics. Let me put it this way: if the politician that is in your area is improving jobs, community, and policies that make your life better, does it really matter where the funding come from, or do it? This is the question that I'm asking right here on TCLN Network today, which is a question that mainstream media often overlook. So at TCLN Network, I am going to do what I do best. I am going to ask the question that mainstream media is not asking. Would you be okay with a politician and accepting where the money would come from if that politician is improving what you would like to see in your communities, in your life, in your careers, and on your jobs? Dive in a little bit into AIPAC just in case some people don't understand the auspience of AIPAC and its big influence in the United States of America. But more than that, just in case you do not understand how politics work when it comes to money and donations. So all of that and more coming up right here on TCLN Network. Hi guys, welcome to TCLN Network. I have created a newsletter right there on Substack. It is called the TCLN Advantage, and it is for people who love to read, who love to do deep dives and really get into not just the news, but the information that's behind the news that makes you a little bit wiser and helps you to understand more of actually what is being said in news. Often we get the headlines, we get the information, we get the facts, and we just walk away. What with TCLN Advantage, you get to break down information and to be a little bit more informed than what you would be just by simply reading a headline and a few news articles. So join me over there on Substack. Make sure you subscribe. That is a way that you can support this show by supporting the newsletter also. So thank you. The description and information is below. Make sure you check it out, okay? And don't forget to like and share this video and to subscribe. That helps shows like this that love to inform, love to educate, get pushed out on social media. Money in politics is not new. It's actually structural and it's legal. And it's deeply embedded in how politics work in the United States of America. Political campaigns cost money. You have to have staffing, data, outreach, and travel. And that money has to come from somewhere. So this means that candidates are always connected to what's known as PACs, PACs, or what we're going to be talking about today, which is AIPAC, which is the very controversial organization that has to do with Israel in the United States of America. And it's most recently has become very controversial due to the war in Palestine. Here's the key insight that mainstream media often miss. And this is what I want to expand upon. You got the arguments about Israel, you have the arguments about AIPAC, and you have the arguments about politicians accepting money, whether Republican or Democrat, because they both have equally accepted money from these organizations, no matter how much American citizens argue. The point is that when these politicians, some of them, people say they're not doing anything at all. We don't even know why we're voting for them. And then some people feel that they love their favorite politicians. And that's cool. But let's talk about this money situation when it comes to PACs, PACs, and when it comes to AIPAC, which is a major organization that has to do with the influence of Israel in the United States of America. So do you just throw your politician out just because they accept funding for them if they're helping move your life forward and your community forward? Or do you take a step back and say, hey, I'm not going to fund you anymore, or I'm not going to support you anymore because you accepted money from these guys and we disagree with how they think and how they operate as lobbyists? So I'm going to start with this article that I found on Substack. You guys, if you have not, please get over there to Substack. Substack is awesome. You got news over there. You have articles over there. You have everything. And don't forget about mine now, the TCLN Advantage, okay? Sign up for mine, but I would advise you also sign up for other people's too. This is where the education is at. See, on socials, you're getting more of the backlash, the gossip, the this and that. But if you really want to be informed and you really want to have insight, shoot over there to Substack, guys. I'm telling you. That way you will have both. But I want to start out with this article, and it was written by a lady. Her name is Miss Nina Turner, and the article was on June 4th, 2026. Let me give you the name of her article. I love referencing people and promoting them because when you know, number one, it's ethical. When you get someone's information, you want to make sure you contribute them, but also so that we are lifting each other's up. And to me, that's one way to lift other people up, by making sure that I'm acknowledging where I'm getting the information from. And if I feel that the information is valid, of course, you guys need to go over there and find out more information for yourselves, okay? So this article is called Clapping Back and Selling Out. Again, clapping back and selling out. A conversation Black folks need to have about Jasmine Crockett. Now, of course, that caught my attention because you guys know I cover Jasmine Crockett here. She's one of the leaders that I cover right here on TCLN Network. So, of course, that would catch my attention. So let's state just a few of what she had to say, and then I will put the link right there in the description, guys, and you can go read the whole article for yourselves. She states there is a difference between clapping back and fighting back. At a time when Republican state legislators are erasing Black districts and Black political representation, something else is also happening. AIPAC is buying blue seats, such as MO01, which is Missouri District 1. It is the same thing, political erasure. And this political erasure has particularly stinging and consequential impact on the Black community. Again, if you want the full article, make sure you go over there to Substack. Again, the link is below. And guys, you can go check it out after this show, okay? So let me say why that caught my attention. Number one, there's a lot of arguing all the time on the internet, like I said, but a lot of times people are just misinformed. And I always tell people all the time, in order for you to have a good basis for any type of argument or any type of stance, you first need to be educated. And that's what I do here. We educate to elevate so that we go from situations to solutions. We build that foundation, and then you're able to say, okay, I get what this is about, and understand more for yourself, okay? Instead of just arguments and debate and all the things that go on. Most people only look at who gave the money to the campaigns, and then people automatically will jump to their assumptions, right? Without research, without forethought, without digging deeper, just because what they heard other people say, automatically the assumptions go running. You know that, right? So let's define clearly this up front. A politician gets support from donors or political organizations, and at the same time, the politician may pass policies that help their community, okay? So now the public is stuck asking, did the donors influence the politicians, right? This is the tension and where most political confusion steps in at. The problem is emotional thinking, emotional hype, that transcends structural thinking. So number one, we have to understand, how does this thing work in America, right? Why are these organizations giving these politicians money? And we think we know the answers, right? We say, oh, they're trying to influence them. Oh, they have their agenda on the back end, and they need for these politicians to make sure they're in office carrying out their agendas, right? And that's usually what everybody believes, right? It's usually what everybody thinks. But have people ever thought about, well, maybe the politician knows that they need the money and that they need the win, and they plan on doing what they say they're going to do when they get in there, but they still need that money. Let me give you an example. When you get up and you go to work every day, you may be a Christian, right? Or you may be a Muslim. Your boss may think totally different from how you think. And yet, it is the person who you work up under or the people who have hired you that every day their ideas is different from yours. They may have different political ideas. They may support different ways and things of being. Let's just say you don't support abortions, but your company does. And they also give to Parent Planhood or other organizations that give to these entities. Do you just quit your job? I'm being honest with you. You say, nah, I'm not going to be in alignment with them. I'm quitting this job. I don't care about the $40 an hour or the $30 an hour or the title or any of that. I dump it away and let me go do something different. Is that what you do? No, you don't. Of course you don't. You know what you do? You be like, I'm going to get my money. They're going to do what they're going to do. And then I'm going to take my money and support the ideas that I support or pay my bills or do what I need to do. That's their business, not my business. That's their company, not my company. Isn't that how you think? So then when it comes to politicians, why do we think differently? And that's why I wanted to ask this, right? I remember listening to Jasmine Crockett one day, right? And this is at a point when Jasmine Crockett lost the primary for, what was that? Senator, state senate, right? And so there was a lot of gossip going on, you guys. There was a lot of hype going on about, oh, she said this about foreigners and people who work in these positions and stuff like that. And just in case you haven't seen the video, I'm going to stick it right up here somewhere, either side. And you can click that link, save it. Make sure you stay here now. Click that link and save it, because I do want you guys to watch that. Especially if you're going to be upcoming leaders, entrepreneurs, guys, you got to learn how to think. You can't jump to assumptions. And all of us have been guilty of it. We are quick at, we just jump to assumptions, especially if we've been through some things and we just need to calm down sometimes and rethink, right? And so what ended up happening is that I went and I found this clip, right? And then I got pissed off at myself because I couldn't find the clip anymore. And I was trying to insert it in the video. I was like, no, this is the truth. This is the truth. And what ended up happening is that life was working for me. You know how they say life is working for you, not against you? Well, on that day, honey, life was working for me. I actually found more than a clip, because that's what happens. Mostly people go by a sound bite, but they don't go by the whole thing, right? And I found the whole a message of what she had to say. And I said, oh my God. I said, she said nothing like that. They blocked out everything she had to say before. And all of this stuff she had to say before, it would let you know why she said what she said when she said, oh, we're not going back to picking cotton. You understand what I'm saying? Had nothing to do with all the hype on the internet. And I said all that to say is that we jump to conclusion and we jump to the point and we don't understand the bigger picture, right? But I was listening also in that same video, and there were people that were saying, oh, this is something else, you guys. But they were saying this person is gay and they're this and I can't vote for that and I can't support that. And Jasmine said, what does that have to do with you and your business? You're trying to build a business. You need the money that you need. What does this person have to do with their lifestyle and what they're doing over there and the things that you trying to achieve? And I think sometimes what happens, guys, is that we get too intertwined. Now, before you jump down my throat, oh, we're talking about AIPAC and we're talking about people being harmed. Yes, we're going to get there. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes I think we don't stop to think that even the corporations that we work for, you understand what I'm saying? If we really felt that deep and felt that passion, why don't people just quit their jobs? Oh, my company is this and they support that and do you just walk away from your companies? No. Why? You need that money. You need the money to try to better your life or maybe to try to become an entrepreneur so you can have things your way. But you don't just throw away the baby with the bathwater, is what I'm saying, right? So let's continue on. Let's continue on. Now, let's get a little bit of education because on this show, I love to educate. I love to take these highlights that we get in the news and I love to say, what can we learn from it? We can debate, we can argue, we can fight, we can disagree. It's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But are we saying, what do I pull from it? What do I learn from it? And what is going to happen that's going to make me a better person? Do you understand? You do want to go by your morals. You do want to go by what you stand for. And you do want to go by your conscience. But you do have to remember that your conscience is not everyone's conscience. And how you're going to think about things on different levels is not how people are going to think about it, right? So let's get into it. Let's just simply break this down. When you hear about groups like AIPAC and other major political organizations, what they are doing is not buying politicians in a direct sense, right? They're not buying them. That's not what they're trying to do. What they are doing is supporting candidates who already align with their policy goals, right? I say it time and time again. Everybody has an agenda. I don't care who it is. TCLN network, when I'm here, I have agenda. When I'm talking to you, you have an agenda when you're listening. Everyone does. Some people who are listening to this show, they're not listening for the right reasons. They're listening because they're trying to critique you, to see what you're talking about, trying to find a flaw in you, or they're trying to copycat you or whatever. But some people are really listening because they want to learn, right? Nonetheless, everybody has an agenda, right? Every show has an agenda, every network. I don't care what you're doing, every movie, everything, right? And so it is with all these organizations that are called PACs. You understand that? And when you hear about these things, what they're trying to do is get the candidate that closely aligns with what they align with, right? Or maybe what their agenda may be for that year or their goals, right? Because, of course, they don't want a candidate that they can't influence. You know that. So let's take it back to Wesley and Corey Bush and Wesley Bell in Missouri, right? So these were two candidates that were running, right? And you have both sides of the table. You have some people that obviously support Wesley because he won. So obviously they support him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't even think it was all about AIPAC because when you look at it, some people don't even understand or even know what AIPAC is about, but they voted for Wesley. Why? Because of the things that he says that he stands for. And then when you look at Corey Bush, obviously there are people who were in the running for her because you're looking at a 46, 50 something win, right? So that's pretty close. It's not that far apart, right? And so you have something pretty much down the middle, right? And people wanted these people for very different reasons. And when people want people for very different reasons, you're also going to come with very different arguments, are you not? So the people who support Corey Bush, they're going to argue something the way that they're going to argue it. The people who support Wesley Bell, they're going to argue it the way that they argue it. And in this case, that article that I came across earlier when I was talking about the lady who wrote that article about Jasmine Crockett and how she felt about Jasmine Crockett. Now, you're going to have to go read the full argument or the full article, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go read the full article to get a full understanding. I can't put everything here. But obviously, you can see that she was against voting for Wesley Bell. She did not agree with Jasmine Crockett, supporting. Because as Jasmine Crockett, she said, I didn't fully endorse, but we know her statements. I'm going to put a few statements here. Let's look at a few statements here. But let me finish this and then we'll look at the statements. So like I was saying, Corey, right? This lady in the article, she agreed with more of Corey. And if you go look at the article, she'll tell you all the reasons of why she think that Corey Bush should have won that election and not Wesley Bell. And simply because, not because Wesley Bell did anything wrong, not because he didn't, formally act on the things that he said he would do. He's been in this game a while himself and he's achieved some things himself, but simply because he accepted money, $8 million, I believe, from AIPAC. And she disagrees with that. You understand what I'm saying? And of course, they feel like the reason why he was able to win is because of that big support of AIPAC. So do you see the way the arguments go and the arguments sway? But I guarantee you that in that, there are some people that don't even know anything about AIPAC, but they voted for Corey and they voted for who? Wesley, because of what? Because what they feel that these politicians can provide for them. Now, if you went to both of them and said that AIPAC is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this is what we feel about AIPAC, would any two of these groups who voted for them change their mind? That is the bigger question. Would they? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So I want you to watch these few clips. This is a person who wanted to weigh in on, they were on social media. So now that we covered the headline in the article, now we're going to go to social media, and it's going to be a few YouTube clips just so you can see how this person views it and what they had to say, okay? This clip is used for commentary, analysis, and education under Section 107 of the Copyright Act.
Now, on one hand, the picture Wesley Bell posted in the clip we see of her verbally endorsing Wesley Bell, she's got the same suit on. To me, it lends to the idea that the clip was real. Now, in response to the claim that she may have endorsed Wesley Bell, we get this statement. Y'all are hilarious. It's 9 a.m. where I am, and I'm awakened to the same overly pressed paid losers talking shit. Now that I've got your attention, at the AIPAC lists all of our formally endorsed candidates. So despite this clip where she says that there's no one better to
keep his eye on the prize, which is you, the people, then
the candidate AIPAC paid $8 million to install in
Wesley Bell.
No paperwork has been filed. She goes on to say that when a member of Congress invites you to their district on behalf of an organization to speak, we aren't shitty towards the member as some of you seemingly want a person to be. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I can be nice to someone and not say that you...
There is no one better for this moment for Missouri 1 to keep his eye on the prize, which is you, the people, than Wesley Bell.
Right. I think Jasmine Crockett is one of the most gifted communicators that the Democrats have. That being said, I do feel like leaning on I didn't file the paperwork is a little disingenuous in the face of me seeing her say that and not address what we saw in the video.
So as you can see, and as you understand, everybody have their different views, right? One thing I do notice, there are people who love Jasmine, right? But for some reason, they're stuck on this AIPAC thing. And there are people who love Wesley, right? And they're stuck on this AIPAC thing. And there will be people who love Cori Bush, and they're stuck on this AIPAC thing. And that's why I wanted to bring up AIPAC. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into a few insightful things that I believe So what we're going to do is we're going to get into a few insightful, just key insights that I believe that will be helpful to you when it comes to AIPAC, okay? First, just a key clarification. Money does not go to a politician, okay? And especially for personal use. It goes to their campaign committees or to independent political groups supporting them, okay? So long as you guys understand that, y'all know that, right? They don't get this money, and they don't get to do what they want to do with this money. It has to go to what they say they're going to be vouching for and what it's going to be as a whole. And that money has to be spent on these particular items, right? So when a candidate receives support connected to AIPAC or any type of PAC, right, it has to be aligned with political network. And here's what it typically happens with those funds. This is what typically happens with those funds, okay? So the campaign spending money goes to run advertisements such as TV, YouTube, radio, digital mailers, and such things like that. So you remember, you hear politicians say sometimes, y'all, give me the money. You want me doing this and this and that? I need the money because I need to get out there and get the ads and get the stuff, because that stuff is expensive and it costs money, right? Also, it goes to pay the campaign staff. Remember, people have to hire staff. They can't do all this stuff alone. So you have to have these people on board. They have volunteers, but they also have to have staff, managers, consultants, field organizers, right? Also, it conducts voter outreach. You're looking at canvassing, phone banking, and texting programs. These are all programs that help facilitate their campaigns, fund polling and data analysis to target likely voters. So you know how when you're an entrepreneur and you have to do some some research. We'll usually use YouTube for free if we don't have money. But for those who have money, they actually run this kind of thing, right? Because they need the insight and the detail and the data. Same thing with campaigning. Also organizing events, rallies, and fundraising operations. Also to build digital infrastructure, social media ads, their websites. I want you to take out the time, guys. This is a platform. We do news commentary, also bringing those headlines, but this is a place that you feel safe to learn. Do you think I knew all of this, guys, before I brought it to you? I tell you all the time, as I'm learning, you are learning. I built this for us so that we educate to elevate and we start going from situations to solutions. We're using this knowledge to make our lives better. That's why I call it the leadership advantage. We're learning from these leaders. I'm bringing you this research, this insight. You're getting data. I would never come to you pretending that I just knew all of this stuff. The truth is, some stuff I don't know. I don't. But I know how to get out there and do a little research, bring it to yourself, bring it to myself, and we get better, right? And so, again, and I just bring my experience and my knowledge of what I do know. And this is the important, to get back on track, this is the important distinction. Oh, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that share button. If you made it this far, people need this information. Don't ever think that people don't need this. Listen, what I may know, you may not know. What you may know, I may not know. That's why you need to share in the comments. You need to give your insight. It's good. We are building community. We are building information. And then we're sharing it with the public. You understand what I'm saying? So YouTube can get it out there. But we're learning this important distinguishment that needs to be made. And this is what can cause confusion if it's not made. AIPAC itself is a lobbying organization, okay? It's not a direct donor in most cases. In other words, they do a lot of lobbying. It's not, they just handing out money. They lobby on Washington. Also, most election money flows through political action committees. Remember PACs, PACs, you've heard that word. That means a political action committee or super PACs that are aligned with donors who support AIPAC's policies or any other type of PAC's policies. Super PACs can spend unlimited amount of money. That's why they call super, okay? I'm being corny, guys. But anyway, unlimited amount of money independently of a candidate, but they cannot legally coordinate directly with a candidate's campaign. So remember, there are some legal indications that are involved. Are people always going by that legal indication? Well, we know people be breaking the law all the time, slick and undercover ways. Guys, that's just the way it is. That's the way our world works, right? But at the same time, there are legal things put in place where people are not supposed to cross bounds. That way you keep things ethical, right? And things are flowing so that people are getting a fair chance when it comes to voting and when it comes to the people and the issues that they want to deal with in this country. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of wisdom. Guys, I'm going to stop, right? There are certain things I just don't believe in supporting. It's not about the money to me. It's not even about the views, the money, the this or that. To me, there are just certain things I do not support because I do not feel it better us as a people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or it betters Americans as a whole. I don't care if you're black, white, Mexican, or whatever. If you are a true American, what do I mean by that? I mean a true native of this land. You were born here. Your people were born here. You come from here. You know who you are. And there are certain things that people will vote for that I just see that don't better us. You understand what I'm saying? There are just certain things that don't better us or this land. And I just don't vote for it. I may like the politician, but it doesn't matter. I'm not voting for certain things. That's just my take. And that's who I am. And this is what I mean when I say You have to go by who you are. It is not my job to control you or to manipulate you or to tell you what you should and should not do. It is my job on this platform that I created to make sure that we're educated, make sure you have the information. Do you understand that? But just know where I come from. There are certain things I just don't agree with. Because I'm looking at humanity as a whole or people as a whole. And when I'm looking at a checklist, I'm like, okay, as a whole, does this make us better? Or does this make us worse mentally, emotionally, or spiritually? That's how I look at things. I'm sorry, I just do. It's not about the money. It's not about the person. I can love a politician and their personality. I can even like them. I can even vouch for them. But there are going to be certain things, I'm sorry, I don't vote for. It's just that simple. Because I feel like this. You know the old saying, that blood ain't going to be on my hands. I agree with that. That blood ain't gonna be on my hands. It has nothing to do with the money. It has nothing to do with the politician. It's just certain things are not gonna be on my hands. And that's how I operate. Everybody's different. Make sure you know who you are, what you think before you go by what other people think. Do you understand what I'm saying? Know who you are, know your value, know your worth, and then that's how you operate. You understand? And then do your research. And subscribe to shows like this, also on YouTube, and get over there to your Substack. I'm liking the Substack, guys. I'm telling you, that Substack is thebomb.com. Y'all better get over there, okay? If you feel that a candidate is working for you, I'm gonna give you an example. I remember back in the day when, who was that? Clinton was in office. I don't know if you guys remember that but when Clinton was in office, everybody was laughing at him with the Monica Lewinsky thing. But let's be honest, what he did personally, I'm not gonna lie, it was immoral. That shouldn't happen with a president because they have professionalism they need to keep up. But at the same time, there were so many good things going on when Clinton was in office, so nobody really cared. Everybody was like, he over there getting his little tattywhackle slapper. But it was so many good things happening while he was in office, so people didn't really focus on that particular thing with him and Monica Lewinsky. And she didn't say that she was forced or manipulated or raped. So we just considered it to be a moral thing, him cheating on Miss Clinton. And I'm pretty sure behind closed doors, she got on his tail. And that's their personal business, right? But when it came to people having jobs, people kind of doing the things that they were able to do, and colleges was going pretty well, and funding was up, I think people was looking at their needs being met. That's how people were looking at it, right? There were more and more things ended up coming out on political levels, on some more darker things. But that's how people saw it at that time, right? So that's why this question, again, is why I keep reiterating. What is important to Americans? Is community important? Are your needs being met? Jobs, housing, and all that kind of stuff, is that important? Is the affliction and what someone else going through in a country, is that important? Is all of it important? And if all of it is important, then how are we going to balance this thing called money? You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to politicians. And even more important, what about your jobs? What about your bosses? What about corporations? Because corporations, believe it or not, they have a lot to do with politics too. So you can't just look at the politicians. Oh, y'all accepting money, money, money. Well, if that's the case, what are your corporations doing? What are your leaders doing? And you guys work at these jobs. These are the bigger questions, you understand what I'm saying, that we kind of don't look at in mainstream media. But it's definitely the questions I ask right here on TCLN Network. And not to argue. We don't need to be arguing. We don't need to be, oh, this person's evil, they evil, this corrupt. No, what are the solutions? What is more powerful? What is going to bring the more powerful balance? And most of all, what is going to make America better? What is going to make America not just independent so it can stand on its own? You understand what I'm saying? And clear up its own issues like debt, like this trillions of dollars of debt we're dealing with that's going to be generational, not just for you, but for your children and children's children. Taxes, taxes, taxes. These are the bigger questions we need to be asking. You understand what I'm saying? Because money is going to always be involved in politicians, lobbying. You understand what I'm saying? But where is the balance? You understand? Yes, we need to care about what other people going through in other countries because it do affect us, what we're participating in. But we need to be able to be strong enough to make great deals. We need to be able to, instead of arguing about AIPAC, we need to be able to sit down, and we need to have so much power in America where we sit down and say, hey, AIPAC, I don't mind taking your money, but this is what we need from you. How about that? How about us having that type of power? Not it being a either or argument or a debate. You understand what I'm saying? How about we start thinking of solutions and powerful insights to where we say, hey, we want you to be okay, but we want to be okay too. And I think the only way we can do that as Americans is that we sit down and know who we are, know what our vision is, and know what we want. And then we bring this power to the table. And we come to the middle with PACs, with these political action committees, not just taking money for the sake of taking money, or, you know what I'm saying, just in the sake of saying, I'm going to be in alignment because you're in alignment with this. What is our power? What is the power of the people? You know how they always say there's power in the people? Well, what is that power? Do we even know what that power is? Do we think beyond eggs and milk? Do we think beyond the prices of eggs and milk? I mean, like really? Because it's really more to life than that. I promise you, we can live without milk. We're not supposed to be drinking those cows' milk, no way, even though some of us do it. I promise you, we can live without egg yolk, which is nothing more than a fetus that didn't form. There are so many things, guys, that are as important. And I think when we start like sitting down and building small communities all over again, discussions and things that are important, that are very, very important, that bring sustainable solutions, I think we're going to get better as a nation. I think we can get better as a nation. But when we keep giving our power away, when we keep saying things like, oh, well, those big time organizations, they just got their agendas and there's nothing we can do about it. Is that true? Is that true? Is it true? Yes, there are things you can do. Your power is your energy. Your energy is your vote, your voice, your everything. If you start pulling out of stuff because you disagree, you're going to see change. If you start actively, you understand what I'm saying? Saying, hey, this is what we need from you, and making people stand on their word. You understand what I'm saying? You can see some change, but you got to be willing. You can't just sit back and, well, there ain't nothing we can do, honey, because they just this, they can that. Yeah, sometimes there are things you can do. That's just like recently, if you've been watching my videos, when I was targeted by the police in Austin. And I just remember, like I was like, okay. So I didn't have a big time attorney at the time, and I didn't have like what I should have had to come up against being brutalized like that. But I was determined that I wasn't going to back down. I was so determined that even if I had to represent myself, because I felt like the attorney wasn't doing what I need the attorney to do. So I went inside to talk to the supervisor at the main place of where the attorneys reside. I said, listen, what is my options? They went over my options. You can do A, you can do B, you can do C. I said, and do I have an option to represent myself if I need to? And they were like, sure you do. I was like, Okay. Because I wanted to know all my options and I wasn't going to back down. It got resolved, you guys, and I'm happy about that. But it was all because, and it was little old me against big people. But I was just determined that I just wasn't going to sit there like that. They just weren't going to do that to me like that. Do you understand that? Nobody was just going to pin something on me and just do something to me, and that was just going to be it. No, I knew what happened was wrong. I don't care what people had to say, and I was going to stand up for my rights.